so the pain is probably nicer to you as a person. The Twitch timeline was met with some interesting replies, many of which were then taken down because a couple thought they actually caught heat, so they made their profiles private, and I missed out on those tweets because they didn't care that much. One girl who is just notorious, I don't even know what her bag is, but I know she had a stream goal for boob implants. She also had a stream goal where you paid for her to go to some TwitchCon in another country. And it's like, do you really need to do that? If you've been to one TwitchCon, you've probably been to them all. They suck ass. Most conventions do, but whatever. Due to this Twitch change, some boob streamers got banned. And unfortunately, because YouTube is draconian, and they actually enforce some of their policies, usually on people they don't like me, I can't show you these photos on the video you're probably watching, but patrons can see the unedited version. We have Mizzy Rose. She's fantastic. She's the greatest of all time. She literally got banned after this because, let's face it, man, look at those knockers. They're fantastic.
That you're enticed by my daughter's awesome rocking tits.
Wake up, Kitty. You alright? Kitty.
Well, to be honest,
she's not a good painter, though. I'm like looking at this. It's like, this girl is not a good painter. It's like child level painting. And we're supposed to sit here and be like, this is art. Really? This is art? It looks like a child's painting. Twitch has banned me. I don't care if it's for a day.
Wow, what a waste. The poor children.
A day ban. It still affects my account. I did nothing wrong. Someone is wrongfully banning on Twitch's end. Just adds everyone. Like, this is like some big travesty, you know? Even Alinity took her ban like a straight gangster. Every other Twitch thought that gets banned, except for the big ones, they start squealing like pigs. Probably because Amaranth and Alinity know them getting banned means absolutely nothing. Much like these community guidelines don't mean anything against big Twitch streamers. She starts writing, there's nothing wrong with what I painted. Well, you know, let's face it, I'm on Pornhub and I see this stuff all the time. I don't yank my crank to it, but it's there. Twitch is just like a lighter version. Based on review and activity of your content, we've issued a community guideline strike on your account. As a result, your access to Twitch service has been restricted for a day. A day. Look at those big knockers, man. Come on.
Look at those bags.
Like, let's be real here. Why are we sitting here pretending that this is some sort of high art, or that anyone watching it is like learning something, or it's, like, come on. And the sad thing is she's trying to emulate a look from someone who went to San Diego Comic-Con and actually built a costume to represent Mystique correctly. This broad's like, I'm not even bothering with half a shirt. I'm not covering my boobs. You need to see these, because you'll never touch them. Now, unfortunately, I only have a limited archive of this, because she got unbanned and then deleted the tweet after Twitch unbanned her, because she didn't care anymore. It's like what most of these girls do. They get banned. Oh my God, it's a travesty. Boobs are not sexual. My left nut. Cut it out. If they weren't sexual, you wouldn't have any views, and you know it. If what you were doing didn't physically appease someone, they wouldn't watch you. For God's sakes, if your content is so scary great, maybe try painting something other than yourself, and maybe take some lessons. Why is it every girl that paints themselves, except for like 2 or 3 on Twitch, can't paint for jack shit? I mean, for real. I've seen watercolors from children with more complexity and color gradients. I have over 13,000 subs. I've been on Twitch for 5 years. I've been body painting for 2 months now on Twitch. Whoa, what? She originally painted portraits and murals. She also played video games. She averaged 30 views at the time. Now, if body painting isn't sexual, then why on earth is it when she started body painting and dancing to Dance Dance Revolution or whatever, she went from 30 views to 2,000 views on average? I mean, you really can't sit here and tell me her makeover and streaming habits changing had absolutely nothing to do with it. There must have been a drastic shift in your content.
Yo, what's going on,
if all of a sudden,
Fire
the last 2 months you discovered body painting. I've always been passionate about it. For the last 2 months, ever since I found out how much money I could make, I've been passionate. God, the dudes who support Twitch thoughts are some of the weakest men I've seen. It's like simping is so crazy. It's nice we have a word for it, but Lord have mercy. This one guy is like, you're recovering any visible parts that were deemed unfit for Twitch. Didn't they just ban underboob? I'm seeing underboob all day here, babe. It's booberific. Should've left that line for Billy. In all the streams I've watched, hopefully you will finish the paint you were in the middle of. Was looking amazing. Yes. You think she finished painting that after she got banned? She's in the middle of painting herself like this and gets banned, and you think she's gonna keep painting? With like Twitch not being on, dude? Are you that delusional that you think the girl was like, oh, my Twitch stream ended. Well, I'm not gonna stop painting myself. I'm amazing. No, the broad was probably like, I'm done with this. I'm gonna get paid for it. Fuck it, I'm gonna wash this off. Probably like texted her boyfriend, I just got a day suspension on Twitch. It's bullshit, booby. First, the sushi restaurant closes. Now this, I can't take 2020. So this guy goes on Twitter and he makes a joke, right? And on Twitter, you really don't have much choices of what you can do because the site's really stupid. You got the political nutcases, you got the sexual identity nutcases, you got the furries, you got the conspiracy theorists, you got Elon Musk in the mix. Captain Crunch, aka our president, is saying dumb stuff to rile people up. The whole system is flawed. So in order to maintain sanity, sometimes you gotta shitpost. So this guy, McConrem, he writes, tomorrow on stream, I'll be painting my cock gray and calling it an elephant trunk. Don't miss it. This is art. Let's go Twitch. Obviously, this is satire. Mizzy Rose pops in and she's angry as a pit viper. It's all body artists that are being disrespected. Wait, body artist? You're not a body artist. You're painting yourself in your room for horny dudes. Girl, I didn't see you on Skin Wars. I don't see RuPaul coming out after you finish painting yourself and giving you some critiques. All right, queen, cut this out.
Wow.
Skin Wars Fresh Paint. All new Wednesday, 9, 8 Central on GSN.
Now I'm sad. Now my body's split in two.
And Skin Wars isn't even on anymore. And that was on national television. Nobody even gave a shit about that. And it was a TV show. And you're treating yourself like you're Da Vinci. Dude, I paint model kits better than you'll ever paint your body in your wildest dreams. And even I don't sit there and go, I'm an artist. There was another girl wrongfully banned. It's body art. The problem is people like you who sexualize it because you can't control yourselves. Really, queen. You think that she don't care long as you give her money. All right. So people who come in and they're obviously looking at her because they want to watch her paint herself are there for that. And we're pretending it's anything other than that. Nobody's going to remember this in 10 years. Not even 1 year, girl. Like, what is with these body painters on Twitch pretending that they're artists? It's ridiculous. Only 1 or 2 of them's any good. All the rest of them paint like children. Children with Down syndrome.
I gotta start doing body
And
art.
we're supposed to treat it like it's something amazing. She also got so mad that I think she decided to report him to Twitch.
Sculpt other people
this
and
is
just,
so
like,
disrespectful.
lay it
Once
out
I
there
get
myself.
appealed, I will be reporting this. Did
That
you
the
know your
secret?
actions outside of Twitch
how I get
can
rich?
get you banned too? Nice.
God.
So you don't like being banned, but someone making a joke, they gotta go. Let's call it deplatforming. And there she goes, she starts adding people. This man is so fucking disrespectful. A man's dick isn't the same as a woman's chest. I think he's thinking too hard with it. No, he's being funny. Oh my God. This girl doesn't understand satire. Satire. Just in case you don't know what it is and you paint your breasts, let me help you by typing it into Google for you and reading it for you. Satire. The use of humor, irony, or exaggeration to ridicule or expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices, particularly in the context of contemporary politics and other topical issues. There you go. You see, if you see someone who's got this sort of like knee-jerk response to someone making a joke, you can't take them seriously because you know they're not that bright, which explains why she paints her tits on Twitch. You don't really need talent for it. I'm sorry, I said it. And anyone who wants to challenge me on it, go right ahead. I guarantee you I can paint you under a barn. Men can body paint without pasties now, and many men have moves? Maybe she means man moves. She's like going in on this dude. She's like really trying to get under his skin, and I think she failed. Oh, here's a gay guy. Breasts are not sexual organs. Sorry you never touched one in real life. Now what I love about this is this chick named Kat comes right up and completely roasts this gay dude. Well, maybe not sex organs, but if someone grabbed a woman's breast as opposed to her arm, what would that be? Boom, sexual assault. Oh my God, thank you, Queen. For just shoo away,
Thank you,
JT.
Queen.
Go do something you know how to do. Being annoying on a fucking phone app. Wow, it's surprising how many women came into this and they're going at this guy like he's saying his genitals are the same as his breasts. He's not. He's making a joke.
Oh my God.
All right,
that's
this
funny.
is comedy.
Yes.
My God. There's so many Karens on
Oh,
Twitch.
Goodness.
Like, for real, it's literally a bunch of women who are making money off of their sexuality. Let's face it, you being female is the only reason why anyone's tuning into you. It is. You got nothing else. If you weren't a chick, you'd be working at McDonald's. Like, for real, if you weren't a cute chick, you wouldn't be body painting on Twitch. You'd be somewhere loading boxes. Women really do have, like, they got it so much easier and they don't even realize it. That's what's infuriating at times. And then you got to hear about the privilege you have. Reporting you for inciting hate against another streamer, you know, something that actually violates the TOS. Wow. So basically, you're going to false report a man for making a joke. He was being indirectly inflammatory. Yeah, she's a Karen. Oh no, guy makes a joke that he's going to paint his dick like an elephant on Twitch. And all of a sudden, he hates women. This is like, just, wow. I don't even know why I'm looking at this, because it actually went from being funny to being a prop. I hate this kind of stuff. I really do. One guy goes, I remember going through puberty my first time too. It's okay. You'll come out the other end wiser, more mature adult. Or not. And you'll be left at the side of the street where the rest of the trash is tossed. With opinions like this. Be fucking better. Wow. I swear to God, some of the dudes that stream on Twitch, man, they should be classified as lady boys. Like, for real. Oh my God, I can't with this anymore. I'm gonna look at maybe one more tweet and I'm done with this. Like, this could go on forever. I'm just reading this. It's surprising how someone posts a joke, which is satirical, at the state of Twitch, and it becomes this big gender/culture war. And it's filled with so many people who don't understand he's making a joke. She comes back again because she just keeps posting on this. Like, she was looking for attention. If she really didn't care, she wouldn't have posted it all. And the funny thing is, anyone who said anything about it, she then copy and pastes some of her replies to other people, which I found weird, which means she didn't even care enough to have a genuine reply to things. So she goes one more time. This is a finished product. I'm happy about it. Be negative all you want. I had fun painting this. Well, good for you, darling. I really don't care. You got banned, people had a chuckle, a dude made a joke, and you went fucking nuclear. So it wasn't really negative what he did. It was more along the lines of funny. And you're so, as they say, butthurt over the situation that you went on a warpath over absolutely nothing, considering you're only banned for a day. And really, if you're going to paint yourself, get better. How about that? How come men have to be better, but body painters don't have to take any painting classes? You know, I have yet to see any of these girls invest in a damn airbrush. You know, oh, I love body painting. It's art. Get an airbrush. No, that's too much work. So one chick comes up and goes, it's not about being negative. It's about having enough respect for yourself. Not to show your naked body on the platform that kids might be watching, yada yada. And then, of course, another woman comes in and goes, women shaming other women is the worst. No, women don't have to be default on your side because they're women. Just like I'm a man, I don't have to be default on someone's side just because they're a man. Like, for real. Onisan was a woman, I guarantee you there'd be other chicks in his corner. If Onisan was a woman. If it was Onesian, like, Onesian, it's Onesian here. Other chicks would be like, you guys just can't stand Onesian, made it on her own. And she created a platform. Now, all these toxic neckbeards are trying to tear her down and call her a pedophile. You know, 'cause that's what it would be. 'Cause that's how fucked everything is.
How about we go to dinner sometime, sweetie? My treat. I'm sponsored by Ridge Wallets. It's bulletproof, you know. Works every time. Thank you, Sebastian.
I'd like to thank Ridge once again for sponsoring the channel. In a time where YouTube seems to be demonetized crazy, Ridge Wallet seems to always be in my corner, allowing me to make content that I don't have to censor for the people. You already know the spiel about the Ridge Wallet. I've had mine for over a year. The thing's bulletproof, it's chainsaw proof, it's waterproof. So if you get in trouble with the mafia and they chainsaw you up and shoot you, then throw you in the Hudson River, long as your Ridge Wallet keeps your information in it, they can identify your body. Well, that's probably not a good selling point. Listen, free shipping worldwide, fast returns, and if you don't like it, you can send it back, no questions asked, and no cost to you. But if you do like the wallet, it's a lifetime guarantee. How many things today can you buy that there's a lifetime guarantee for? Absolutely nothing. Not even your relationships last that long anymore. At some point, she'll leave you or die. The Ridge Wallet's gonna be with you in the grave, my dude. Head over to Ridge Wallet /Gundam10 and use the promo code Gundam10 for 10% off all your orders. Links are in the description.
Energy. Thanks, bro. 40k energy. I think that Twitch is yet to catch on to.
Since YouTube seems to like reaction channels more than anything, let's try that. I mean, hell, Jim Sterling does it. He gets a lot of views. Why not me? This way I could probably not get in trouble. Let's react to the Assassin's Creed Valhalla cinematic. Essentially, it's Assassin's Creed Vinland Saga. What's that, Stu? I have to take that back. Ubisoft Montreal are geniuses. Oh, look, it's someplace cold.
Heartless.
Probably like Greenland or something. You know what's funny? This looks like Skellige, right? Now, I know this is terrible for me to do because I'm supposed to be reacting to the trailer, but my thought on this is Assassin's Creed got inspired by The Witcher 3, right? Because it just blew the doors off everything. And ever since The Witcher 3 has come out, Assassin's Creed developers have been trying like hell to sort of get that Witcher vibe going on with their games. Notice how it changed with the Egyptian Assassin's Creed, which I don't even remember the name of. Assassin's Creed Origin. I had the game. I forgot the name of it. I think I played halfway through it. I remember nothing about the game. But people are like, this is the best version of Assassin's Creed. Yeah, they decided to do something different. Like, follow someone else's lead.
Not being Assassin's Creed. Turn it into like an RPG.
Godless barbarians.
You know what the problem is with Ubisoft games? The fact that these damn things, man, the trailers always look amazing. The E3 trailer always looks good. But the reality of the game is never, ever what they show to you. It like takes Ubisoft like years for the game to be decent. When it comes to online stuff, you know, look how long it took Siege to turn around. I mean, look at, what was that game, For Honor? I bet they're gonna use assets from that. Nobody's gonna pick up on it except me. Why don't they just like do 3D movies at this point? Why not? This just seems like all the effort goes into the trailer, and then when you get the real game, it's just so a shadow of what you want it to be.
They murder and kill blindly.
Oh, these Vikings are noble. Thank God. There won't be any raping and pillaging here.
Did I not?
We're liberators.
They scar the lands of England. Lands they will never defend, never love. The time has come to speak to them
Notice how all the dudes in this are good looking? You know, if this happened now, all these guys would be like Instagram models. They wouldn't even be bothering with anything. That's why we don't have an Assassin's Creed in real life. Because all the good-looking dudes that would be running around calling themselves Ezio are too busy going to Coachella with fucking James Charles. Still, am I in trouble for that?
Stand.
Yeah.
Mind if I play some fight? Shit, that kind of works. I figured something out. Look at me.
Just one with their female Vikings. Oh well, whatever. They're female Vikings. Not even gonna bother. Not even gonna bother. I know what it's about. Thank God they're female Vikings. I didn't want to feel my gender identity locked to one specific gender. But what do I do if I don't identify with either gender?
Alright.
Look at them storm the beach like it's Normandy. Oh, that was gory. I like that. Will that be in the game? I want to be able to cut a guy's neck open and see stuff fall out. That'd be cool. It's not going to be in the game. That'd be too cool. If that was in the game, someone would be like triggered. I saw internal organs and I vomited. And then Ubisoft would immediately take it out because Reset Era did a pretty big post on it. So Odin's an assassin, or is he just assume the assassin's Odin? Wouldn't Odin have better armor? I don't know, just me. Thinking out loud here. Honestly, Ubisoft does a great job of putting out trailers. They really do. Like, that's their strength. They put out the trailer, you get like, yeah, this seems like it could be cool. This seems really like, but then you get the game, and you know what it's gonna be. It's a big fucking disappointment. Like, well, this isn't like the trailer. But then again, this will probably be on next-gen consoles, so maybe it'll be less trash. For real, dude. If you're in a fight with a guy and he hits you with a broadsword that big and you get sliced in half, that's, well, obviously this guy can't die. It's his trailer. But then he stabs the big dude in the leg with like a sword, and the big dude takes it out like it's nothing. I've been stabbed in the leg with a knife, and it's a whole lot smaller than a sword, and I didn't just walk that shit off. I stabbed a dude with a blade like that, and he pulled it out. I would have started hollering like a what? Ah!
I warned you, Susan.
It's the Terminator. That's some serious ass chainmail.
It's kind of a cool effect. Like, oh, that's sick.
He's just sitting there seeing that knife come out of his wrist, and he's like, oh, he had a knife in his wrist. Damn it. I'd be pissed. I bet finding guys that tough is not easy. I mean, you probably can't find men like that now, that's for sure. You go on Twitter looking for a guy like that, you're going to be sorely disappointed. But if you want to find men built like birds, my liege, I know where to find them. Isn't Valhalla where you go where you die? No, I guess they figure, tie in Odin, so all the MCU fans who don't buy comic books go, oh, it's like Thor and stuff. I like that. I like Marvel. I like a game with some Vikings. I like Thor and Loki. And I'm pretty sure the character is gender swappable. I think I read that somewhere because it was really popular for people who, for some reason, got off on the idea. I think Ubisoft won't make the mistake they did last time with the Greek Assassin's Creed, where like if you had a gay character, the gay character would have to be forced to have heterosexual sex so that they could continue the bloodline, so that the stupid games could be somewhat canon. And people lost their minds over that. I was sitting there like, really? You care that much, you Phoebe? Like, my God, how do you think the bloodline goes on if everybody's gay? You can't have children with your DNA in that day and age. If you're gay, what are you gonna do? Stab the child a couple times with a needle because you had your blood on or something? Let it go, I'm all over the place. Oh, there'll be building settlements, whoop-de-friggin-do. Because that was so much fun in Fallout 4, am I right, guys? The sad thing is, like, it was a trash mechanic, but Fallout 4 was so trash that building settlements was better than playing the actual game. Let me guess, people like, gaming YouTube pages are milking this to death. You know it. 5 things that it'll tell you about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Well, no shit, Sherlock. It's a game trailer. What are you gonna tell me about this game? Oh my God, let it go, dude. Basically, I did read some interview that they're gonna be base building and supposed to get your nuts up. You're gonna feel like you're home and special and warm and cozy. You actually have choices. Like I said before, Assassin's Creed is trying to go down the Witcher road. It's not exactly bad, but the difference is The Witcher took years to develop, and Assassin's Creed games are now turned around every 2 years. There's still not enough time to develop a great, enthralling story and character base, in my opinion. All right, I know there are people who love the last Assassin's Creed games, but, they didn't really strike a chord with me. Like, there are things that happened in The Witcher I still remember to this day. I don't remember jack about Assassin's Creed Origins, and I played that recently. So, whatever. More power to them. I guess good games are coming out. Give people something to do. Give YouTube channels something to, speculate on for long periods of time to milk out that sweet, sweet ad revenue that I'm sure as hell not getting. I bet that I screwed this up. I don't think this is how reactions are supposed to go. It's basically me, tearing into shreds. I like the trailer, though. Good choice of music, cinematography. If the game played like the trailer, I'd jerk off to it. But it won't. So I'm just going to read Vinland Saga. Now, if they made it like Vinland Saga, that'd be something.
Completely forgot those guys.
Welcome. I'm your host, Machi Fuchara, and this is episode 116 of Art Cafe. Please welcome the returning guest and one of my favorite artists, Andy Park. Andy is a director of visual development at Marvel Studios, responsible for leading some of the most talented team of artists in the world. It was a pretty interesting episode. It was really fun to catch up with Andy, and not only I consider him to be a great artist, but also a good friend. So I had a lot of fun. Hope you guys are gonna have a lot of fun as well. Let's go.
Whoa. Shoes. Should we fix it up?
That must have been 5 years ago because I've been doing this, leading these films for 5 years now. So it's like, wow, a lot has changed in my life since then. it was stressful and busy the first 5 years at Marvel Studios as just an illustrator, as a concept artist. But the day that I turned into a supervisor, now I'm the director of visual development, leading a lot of the films.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm doing several jobs, it's not just one job because I'm trying to do art And I'm also leading the department on those films. So I'm art directing all the artists, I'm hiring the freelancers, I'm talking to directors, I'm having conversations with producers. So there's a lot of meetings now. Before, I could just paint, draw, and concept. Now I'm, spending a lot of time in meetings and talking. Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy, but it's been so fun.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, I remember. I think the first time we ever met was, I think it was a lunch. When did you join Marvel? Actually, let's start with that. Like the first year.
Joined Marvel 2010. So this is
okay.
I'm entering my 11th year.
I think we met either right after you joined or right before you were joining, and you were still at Sony Santa Monica.
Yeah, because I remember I got your computer. I bought your computer.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I think that's why we actually met, because you offered in Facebook you're gonna sell your iMac, and it was like totally decked out.
That was right after you joined. Yeah, that was right after you joined Marvel, I think. But I think we met before.
Yeah.
We were doing this dinner.
Naughty Dog.
Yeah, at Water Gardens with Easy and you, and there was a bunch of other people.
Was Andrew there? Andrew Kim?
Yeah, Andrew Kim was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think that's like, it's been 10 years. Can you imagine?
No, it's time. That felt like ages ago, but it's also time flies fast as well.
Yeah, what a journey though. Like, because you started in video games and you were doing illustration for the longest time, and now you're in like completely different position.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I could never have predicted, or you can't foresee. I started way back in the day doing comic books. Like old school comic books for Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
Do you know who he is, Rob Liefeld?
Rings the bell.
He's a comic book artist. He created like Deadpool.
Yeah. No,
he was my first boss who hired me way back when I was 19 years old.
Damn. How many years was how many years ago was that? Like how long have you been in the industry?
Well, in the entertainment, just general, I've been working for 25 years. So and so the first 10 years of my career, I was drawing comic books. And then I made a switch in 2005 to go into video games. To concept art. And then Sony Santa Monica was the first video game concept art job that I had. So I did that for 5 years. That's when I met you. And then 2010, 10 years ago, that's when I got hired by Marvel. So I've been working in film since then. So it's been, I always say I have like 3 different careers.
Yeah. You've been working in this industry a decade longer than I did.
Oh man, I know. Well, you didn't start like drawing until like later in life, which is, I think I remember you saying something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, I used to draw all the time, but like I discovered that you can make money doing that back in 2003. And then by 2004, 2005, I was like, having my foot in video games.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So I started doing concept art at the same time as you did, more or less.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
because back before then, there was, for me, my whole artistic career, I went through the transition of pre-internet, and then, so the 10 years I was drawing comic books, for the most part, the internet wasn't born yet. So, I'm drawing sequential, off of scripts from writers, and they would tell me that they wanted me to draw certain locations like Kathmandu, the mountains of Kathmandu, or a certain museum in Paris. And I'm like, how do I know what that looks like? So I literally had to I regularly went to Barnes & Nobles, and I was searching, and then if I found, how many pictures can you find in a book for a specific location, especially back then, it was very difficult. So I would buy that book if I found one, and then I'd use it for reference, and then I'd return it after that was my internet. So I'm so jealous for all the artists, comic book artists now. Oh my God, one Google search and you get like every reference that you could literally even trace over.
Yeah, that reminds me like high school times when you were supposed to write an essay, or something, and you had to like research books. You would go to the library, and you get like a catalog of like, okay, I want this, this, and this book. You would go to like a checkout. They would like bring the books out, and you would sit for like hours and try to find the material and read at the spot.
It was so
like,
hard.
yeah.
We had to work for it, but so I think it's very interesting that we got to really experience, all of us and all these generations, that we got to experience the pre-internet, post-internet. Of course, the younger generation don't know what life was before the internet, but I'm kind of glad I'm alive at the time that I am, that I got to experience that, because I was doing a talk yesterday, and I remember my early adolescent years or my childhood was watching cartoons, right? In the 80s. So I'd watch Saturday morning cartoons, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Robotech, and I would want to draw them, but the only way to draw them is to record it with your VCR.
Yeah.
Then I'd have to pause it. But I don't know if you remember, the pausing is not instantaneous, like pressing pause on YouTube. You press pause and it goes, it goes frame by frame, and it misses that one frame that you need of Optimus Prime. So I mean, but that's the lengths we went through in order to see what we're actually looking at on the screen.
And you would rewind and start again.
Yeah, you have to rewind. It goes way too far, and yeah. Dude, I wish my kids could experience that.
How many tapes you overwritten by accident, like your favorite cartoons or whatever? Yeah, you forgot to switch the tape.
Switch the tape. Yes. I you know what? Because I recently moved, but through the move, I have all these old VHS tapes, that I used to record. So I'm still meaning to. I still plan on getting them digitized. Oh, cool. I just want to see what's on them and what I recorded, and sure, you can find it all on YouTube.
Wonky stuff.
Yeah.
I watched that. What the hell?
No, because I remember back then I was into like Van Damme. I was really into martial arts. I took martial arts, and I was really into like Van Damme and Chuck Norris and Steven Seagal. Yeah. And I recorded like whenever Van Damme was on the Arsenio Hall show. Yeah. And I would record all those things.
I remember getting hands on like Bloodsport on the VHS and like watching those movies.
That was my oh my gosh, Bloodsport was my favorite, probably my all-time favorite. And you knew it was campy too, the lines, and that he's not a good actor, but seeing the fight, and back then there was no UFC. So being able to see the different styles fight against each other, that was like a precursor, and that was like, whoa, you never see like different styles, and that was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah, prior to UFC, it was all dark arts basically.
Yeah, but now
I knew what works.
It translates. Now I love UFC. I watch that all the time now.
Yeah, I watch it too. It evolved in such a short time from like the VHS tapes to early UFC, Pride, all of those.
Do you remember? Like I remember seeing UFC in Blockbuster, and it was like in a VHS, and it was like, wow, this is the first time full contact. They didn't have gloves back then, and you could see Taekwondo versus karate, or judo versus. So you saw different styles. So that was like mind blowing. Like, oh my gosh! And that's when you saw Royce Gracie, and I never heard of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then whenever I saw him fight, it was always boring because he was just like took him to the ground and you don't get to see punches. But he destroyed everyone because everyone was like, "What is this thing you're doing to us?"
Yeah, that changed martial arts forever. I mean, it's Gracie's who started the whole thing too.
Yep. And then about maybe 5 years ago, I actually started taking classes at the Gracie University in Beverly Hills.
Nice.
But then I have a shoulder injury, so I had to stop. But my whole family, my 2 kids and my wife, still take jiu-jitsu from the Gracies.
Yeah, I want to get back to jiu-jitsu myself. I stopped when my kid. Yeah, my kid was born. I stopped because it was just like too much time commitment. You know how it is, like getting to dojo, and like just that in LA takes forever.
Totally.
And then you have to drive back, so that adds like at least an hour. And then the training session is usually an hour and a half. So it's like 3 hours of your day. That's kind of rough.
Totally. In our jobs, like I usually leave Marvel maybe like at close to 8 p.m. Right. So it's like I come home and it's like almost 9, and then I barely get to see my kids, and to take a jiu-jitsu class, and come home at 10 and then eat dinner. It's like it's really demanding, our career and our line of work. Everyone and all the concept artists I know that in entertainment, it's a fun glamorous job, but it's time commitment is huge, So there are definitely sacrifices, and it's tough to have a family and have a social life and all that stuff.
That's true. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's one of those things where everyone's pushing all the time, and if you're not pushing, you're kind of being left behind a little bit. And the competition grows, and like you want to be competitive at the end of the day.
Definitely.
So it's definitely challenging. I'm pretty sure we're gonna repeat a lot of things we kind of discussed.
Yeah,
but who cares? I mean, it's been years.
No one watched that one.
No one watched it.
Even if they did, they're not gonna remember it.
Yeah, they don't remember. I don't watch it. The quality was bad. I was much worse at interviewing. All those things. So you went to be working in video games, then you ended up working for God of War, basically, right?
Yes.
How many years was that for you? Like, how many years you spent in video games? Because it's funny, because you and me, we started to be concept artists right after the concept art became a thing. Because prior to that, it was like right at the transition of old gen and the new gen of video games. Like the old gen was like baked textures, and nothing was real time. Everything was kind of scripted and recorded. The lighting was kind of painted into everything. Versus the next gen was like when like the normal maps came in, and the teams kind of blew up from like 10 people making a video game to like 100 people making a video game.
Totally.
What made you switch? What made you to go into that direction?
Well, like I mentioned, because I was drawing comic books, that was always my childhood dream, and the advent of the internet, I started seeing actual artists online, and in particular Justin Sweet. I think he's one of the early guys that we all kind of like admired.
He's awesome.
I remember seeing his paintings, and right before that, I in between my comic book career, I wanted to get actual art education. So that's why I took a 2-year hiatus, and I went to Art Center College of Design, and I studied illustration. So by that time, so that's when I learned the foundations of painting, figure drawing. I was doing figure drawing and figure painting every single day with all the different mediums. And at that time, I was kind of thinking, maybe I'll get into animation, because I've always loved like Disney feature animation.
Yeah.
But then, because while I was going to school, there still wasn't any talk of concept art as a career. They were still talking about editorial, but even back then, we knew editorial was starting to die out, right? I think that's around that time, that's when concept art started to become a thing, and I started seeing artists like Justin Sweet. I don't remember what other artists I saw back then, but this is even before conceptart.org and stuff, but it was just, and then once I started hearing about this concept art thing, and then obviously seeing video games becoming more and more like awesome, or at least more detailed, and it's not just like 8-bit kind of thing. That's when I started like, oh wow, that's a legit career path, and at this point I love painting. I don't want to just draw with a pencil and draw comics anymore, even though I still love comics, but I never really liked the idea of me just doing a pencil drawing and spending like 15 hours on a page and then handing it over to somebody else to ink.
Right.
And then somebody else colors it after that over you. It's a legitimate way to go, and that's the way, because of time, that's the way it works. But for me as an artist, I think I'm kind of a control freak as well. So even though the inkers and the colors I had were great, it's still not me, And as an artist, you kind of want your full voice. So I think when I saw concept art, like, you get to do full paintings, you get to design characters, tell stories in a different way for video games. I think that's when I was like, I knew I wanted to go that direction for video games, and in particular I wanted to go in film, but I think film was at at that time, like, how do you even get into film? Like, you know.
Yeah, that's always been an enigma. Like, how do we get in films? You know.
I think people still don't know how to, right? Like every panel, every talk we do, that's still a question. Like, how do you get into film? And it's kind of a hard question to answer because it's unlike any other job. You can't just apply. You can't go on a website and there's no HR where you like apply. There's a job posting. It doesn't work that way, right? So video games. That's when I decided. But then because I was in comic books, I had to build a portfolio, right?
Yeah.
So I knew I couldn't show my Tomb Raider artwork and get a job, so I had to. On the side, I was doing digital painting, and back then I was using Painter, Corel Painter.
Right.
I didn't really know Photoshop that well yet, so I built up a portfolio. I took a class over at Noman, Kevin Chen's class, and actually, and Anthony was also co-teaching at that time. Kevin was actually a fellow's classmate when I went to Art Center.
Oh, that's cool.
But I've always, admired his work. So I used that class, one, to learn from them, but also because I knew that would be the fastest way for me to build up a portfolio. Because, I need, a push.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, that's when, at the end of that 10-week course, Kevin had a gallery show over at Nucleus. Mm-hmm. And basically we had our senior show. We put up all our work, and Kevin said he's gonna invite industry people. So I remember meeting Chris Applehans, and then I met this one guy named Charlie Wen.
Right, Charlie.
And that's how it all happened, because I remember meeting him and he saw my work, and he's like, oh yeah, we're actually like looking right now at Sony. And I'm like, oh cool. And then so that's how we met. And then I remember talking to my friend, I don't know if you know a guy named Solomon Lee, but he used to work over at Blizzard.
Rings the bell again.
Yeah. He's not a concept artist. He's VFX. But I've
heard the name before. That's what I'm.
Yeah, but he's like a hardcore gamer back then, and still I've never been like a hardcore gamer. So even though I liked the work, I remember calling him and saying, "Hey, I met this guy, and I got an interview over at Sony. I know what Sony is, right? But I never heard of this game. It's called God of War. Have you heard of it?" And he's like, "Yeah, that first game won Game of the Year." And I was applying for God of War 2.
Right.
So I was like, "Oh wow, that's very fortunate."
Yeah.
And then I got the interview, and then luckily I got hired, and I worked there for 5 years. And I always say that my time at Sony was really the time for me to learn and grow as a concept artist, because I always say Charlie's like my mentor, and the other artists there like Scott Cito and Eric San Juan and Cecil Kim, Dwayne Turner, like these were artists. And then eventually Jung Park came over there, Izzy Medrano. This is, I learned, when I draw in
savages,
comics, basically. Yeah, exactly. These guys are all top of their game. In comic books, usually you're working from home, isolated, right?
Yeah.
When I'm in a studio and you're working with artists, this. Holy cow! I mean, you get better faster than at any time, because it's a healthy competition. You're being inspired, and you're being like, oh crap, I don't want to be the weak link, So you work your butt off. So that was 5 years of amazing training, and it was amazing games, especially like I loved working on God of War 3. By that time, Charlie was gone, and I wasn't officially the lead, but I was like kind of the lead like character concept artist on that game. So I learned a lot about like leadership and working with other departments, and besides just how to design characters and creatures. Mainly I was designing creatures for that game. So yeah, those 5 years were invaluable.
Yeah, the team that was there, I mean, still is. I mean, right now we have Luke and Raph and all the other guys who are just like slaying, basically.
Yep.
Woo.
Yeah.
Absolute madness.
I actually got a call from Cory Barlog, to work work on that God of War game right when they were starting. But then by that time, we just finished Avengers, and Avengers just came out, became the highest or the third highest grossing movie of all time at that time. So I'm like, oh, if that one flopped, I would have totally have jumped to God of War again. But also, with my background, my first love was always Marvel Comics. That's what I grew up reading. So I was like, I have to stay.
Yeah,
but I
having
knew
opportunities is hard.
yeah, but I knew what they were gonna create, because Corey coming back, I worked with Corey for 2 games, and I knew that game was gonna become awesome, especially with the new tech, PS4, everything. So I was like, oh man, this game is gonna be awesome.
It's been amazing,
and holy cow, look at that game.
Turned out to be an absolute banger, basically.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. Great
Very
game.
Happy. Yeah.
By the way, just a little side note: if my camera, the webcam goes black, don't get alarmed, because
okay.
I'm gonna need to switch that camera soon.
Oh, okay.
Because it's overheating, so there is a technical issue. But the one that's recording for the podcast is working really well. So
okay.
I just need to swap it. I'm in process of doing that. So. But yeah, the God of War team, and likewise the Naughty Dog team, like those two companies, the Sony gaming children, basically.
Brother sister companies.
Sister companies. It's just crazy how much talent came out and is coming out of both of those studios.
Yeah, I think those two studios were pushing each other. I mean, you guys were doing The Last of Us and
Uncharted.
Yeah, Uncharted.
Yeah.
I blanked out.
So
but yeah. And then and we were doing the button smasher kind of game, but I think that's once I got into concept art. And because before that, when I was doing comic books, I was living over in Orange County. It's different now in Orange County. There's a lot of artists and gamers and stuff over there. But back then, there wasn't much. So once I moved to LA, it opened up my world to artists, and there was art events at Nomen and Nucleus, and a lot of different things where you can engage and learn and meet. I met you. I met so many people, and I think just being in this kind of industry, that stuff is what spurs you on and pushes you, and it motivates you.
Yeah.
Everyone is doing something different. No one does it exactly the same.
That's true. Everyone has their own take on things. Even though some of the subject matter might be repetitive, but everyone has their own flavor to the work that comes from just experiences working in the industry.
Yep, totally. And totally. I mean, that is one of my favorite things about leading. It's a totally different thing that I've experienced in the past 5 years and leading these films. But one of my favorite things is leading artists and seeing what they produce. Giving each artist a different task. And then when whether I see it in person or if it's a remote artist and they send it in, seeing what they bring to the table, that's the stuff, and seeing what everyone's strengths are, and also sometimes pushing them to do things that they're not comfortable with, and seeing how they deliver. That's been one of the biggest joys of being a leader for me, because I'm like, man, everyone is just so good. Not everyone is as good as this one particular guy at doing this thing, but everyone they're there for a reason. So it's that part is really fun to see everyone's voice.
Yeah. What made you go to Marvel, apart from just the love to the comics that because you've always been a fan of the franchises that Marvel's produced over the years. I think you joined. When did you join Marvel? Did you go there right on the start when they were doing the first Captain America or Iron Man? Or was it a little later?
Well, it was 2010 is when I first got hired. But to answer that question, obviously it stems first from my childhood, because I grew up reading Marvel comics. I dabbled a little bit in DC, but it never really spoke to me, because it wasn't as relatable. The characters of Marvel always really spoke to me. And so, of course, like in the early 2000s, you know, the early movies, obviously, well, even before that, like, you know, in the 80s and stuff, or 70s, when Superman and then Batman came out.
I don't consider those.
And then, but eventually, X-Men came out, and then Spider-Man, and those two were like, whoa, like kind of mind-blowing at that time. You know, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, it's a character that seemingly would be goofy. But to answer your question, it was 2008 when I was working on God of War, and Sony let us out early to all go as a studio to watch Iron Man. So we watched Iron Man, and Iron Man was one of my favorite characters as a kid. And when I watched Iron Man in the theater, I was just blown away. I was like, holy cow, it's a character that the majority of the audience didn't really know what to expect, because he's not really a household name like Spider-Man or Superman or Batman. But after you watch that movie, everybody left that theater like it's a no-brainer. If you could put a Ferrari on you and fly around, like that is just a cool idea. But it's strange how prior to seeing that movie, people were like, I don't know, you know, Iron Man, this sounds kind of weird. It's probably because of the name, like it sounds weird, Iron Man. But so after I watched that movie, and then you remember the end credit scene when Samuel Jackson came out?
Yeah.
I was probably the only one in that theater who like lifted up my hands. I don't know if I did it literally or in my mind, because I knew immediately exactly what that meant. You know, I'm sure like most people didn't know what that meant, but I knew exactly, holy cow, they are setting up to do Avengers. And I remember in high school talking to my other nerd friends, like you can never do an Avengers film, because you can never do a movie that has that many main heroes, you know? X-Men was possible because you had, essentially it was about Wolverine, and then you have all these side characters, you know? But Avengers is about like Hulk and Thor and Iron Man and Captain America. Like these are all major main characters, so it can't be done. So when I saw Nick Fury, that one was like, oh my gosh, Iron Man, this movie's amazing. I know what they're going towards. So at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, it's my dream to work on that film, right?
Right.
But I think at that time, I had that same question, like every student has, like, how the heck do you get into film? So I didn't really pursue anything, because I'm like, I think the other thing is I always felt like to become a film artist, you have to become the best elite quality. You know, I don't know, there's a weird, I know that's not true. There's plenty of
we all know that's not true.
That's not, because there's plenty of video game artists that are better than film artists. And you know, vice versa, and comic book artists are amazing. Every artist in every field, you know, there's no such thing as, you know, whatever. But so because I had that thinking, I was like, I know I'll do film one day, but it'll just happen when
organically
when my stuff is ready. But I got a call from his name is familiar, it's coming up as a theme, Charlie Wen. Because, you know, by that time, you know, Ryan Meinerding, he was a freelance, right before that, he was a freelancer for God of War, on God of War 2.
Yeah.
He freelanced with us for 2 months. And me and all the other artists that were working there, we'll never forget the day that Ryan Meinerding came into our studio. We never heard of this guy. We've never seen this guy. He brought in his 2 13x19 portfolios, flopped it on the table. We opened it. All of our jaws dropped. We're like, I don't know if you remember back then, but when he was doing the Gauntlet stuff and he was doing video game concept art, but we looked at the stuff he was doing. Oh, your video went out. But you can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We looked at his portfolio and we were just like, this is not a normal portfolio. Like, I've never seen work like that, because he was essentially doing, you know the way he paints, like very much like Norman Rockwell, like really detailed paintings, but he's doing it for concept art. And back then, concept art is more sketchy, looser, you know, it's not so labored over, right?
Yeah.
Just to get the idea across. But he was doing this fully painted, looks like gallery paintings, and you're just like, what the heck?
Yeah. I remember seeing his work. The first time I saw his work was from the Captain America, the first Avenger book.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, that's the stuff. He was doing like those keyframes that were like essentially Norman Rockwell paintings. But yeah, he worked with us for 2 months. Then he got hired over by Jon Favreau, was working over there on Iron Man. I think he got introduced essentially through Ian McKeag, working on the John Carter of Mars, Favreau, when he was working on that.
Right.
And then when he worked on Iron Man, then started with Captain America, and then he brought on Charlie Wen to work on Thor. And then Thor, Charlie Wen solved, because they were having a hard time solving what does this Thor look and Asgardians, what do they look like? And I think they went through so many artists, and eventually Charlie Wen came in and knocked it out of the park. So these are two guys that just became really instrumental in the early movies of the MCU. And at that time, that's when Kevin Feige and the leadership came to Ryan and Charlie and said, "Hey, why don't we start a team, like an in-house department of artists, seeing how valuable you guys were and instrumental. We kind of like this, having an in-house group of artists to kind of develop, rather than just the traditional way of doing filmmaking, right?"
Yeah.
So, Charlie and Ryan contacted me. I was the first one that they hired, and specifically to start working on Avengers. But there was still some work to do in Captain America, so I did about a month on Captain America before I started Avengers. So that's how that happened. So I remember when Charlie called me, I was just like, he's like, "Hey, do you want to work on the Avengers?" And I'm like, "Do you even need me to answer that?"
You were like, "Yes, please."
Yeah, but back then, like, even though I knew he started working at Marvel and Ryan was working there, like, I think just the way that I am, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, I never asked them. I never like, "Hey, can you hook me up?" Or I think it's partly because I don't know. It's partly every artist is like confident and insecure, right? Some are more on this side, some on this side. But even the ones that are confident are probably underlying are really insecure and overcompensating.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. So I think definitely for me, I have both, right? And then of course my insecure side always thinks like I'm not good enough, right?
Yeah.
So why would I even have the hubris to even ask, thinking I'm good enough? So I never asked because I didn't know if I was worthy or good enough to work. Especially for two guys that, are two of my most admired artists in Ryan and Charlie.
Yeah.
But when they called me, I was flattered, and I was like, of course I will. But at that time, I just had, my daughter was just born. And of course, I mentioned I was at Sony for 5 years, and I was in a leadership position. I had a really good gig at Sony. So I had stability. I'm working at a studio that is top of its game, making amazing games. So I could have stayed at Sony and, made a really good living for my family and very secure. So for me to leave to a whole new industry that I'm not familiar with, knowing that films are, you can get laid off at any moment, and it was a risk. But obviously it's one of those job offers where you're just like, it doesn't matter if it's a risk. You have to take it. So
yeah, I had the same with Ghost in the Shell. Basically, that's why I left the film industry.
Oh, that's when you left Naughty Dog?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, okay. And then because you grew up watching anime and everything, so
yep, similarities. And I never asked, just like yourself, I never ask friends for favors.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
it's so different when you're doing like personal projects and stuff like that.
Oh, totally.
And usually it always turns out that the friends that I'm genuinely generous towards, they are genuinely generous towards me as well.
Yeah.
And the work speaks for itself. And as you said, I think if you're not getting, I used to say that a lot, if you're not getting a phone call, that means probably your work is just not good enough just yet. or maybe they have someone who's better for the position. I mean, there's obviously might be a situation where you have a friend working somewhere and they might be just not thinking about you specifically, just, you know, a mind lapse, but you would fit perfectly. But that's just like hearsay, basically, you know?
Yeah.
Most of my friends, most of the most prolific people I know, they never ask for favors. They never do.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, because they're usually, you know, top of the game already, so they're in demand.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not that, but I think it's also, you know, I see it not with everyone, but the people. I've noticed that the people who are the most generous towards others, meaning like they are not only like on the highest prolific level, but they recognize like-minded spirits and then try to help them out of their just like, you know what, I love this guy, I want to help him no matter what. Like I don't have to get anything in return, you know what I mean? Like I've noticed that's what plays the major role in connections on like the highest level. Like all of my best friends that are on like literally the highest level, they are there because they would offer help to others and they would get connections through that, and then those, like without expecting anything in return, and then the return would came in, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I totally know what you mean. Sorry, I'm messing with this little thing. I noticed it's covering the camera a little bit.
Oh, it's all good, baby. You look good.
The like-minded thing is huge because, you know, I mean, I hire people, you know, for my for the films that I lead, and it's not always just pure portfolio, you know.
Right.
It's definitely, you need people that will solve the problems and will be useful, obviously. But you also want, I'm going to be working with these people, you know. I'm going to be leading these people. I don't want my life to get harder and difficult by hiring someone who's going to, you know, if I give them a suggestion or tell them, hey, can you change this? And they're going to be like, you know, and I'll be like, I don't need that stress, right? Yeah. So I'm fully aware that when Charlie Bryan hired me, it's not because I was the best, you know, out of any artist that they know of. I'm completely aware of that. You know, it's a combination of, they thought, okay, they know I can do it, but they also know I'm going to be working with them for the long haul, and they like me, so they're going to enjoy being around with me and having lunches with me and stuff like that. So yeah, you're totally right. So the relationships is huge.
Yeah, it matters the most. And I've noticed that that's what happens when you start working with production designers. You know, they might not be hiring absolutely best artists that are out there. They hire people that they worked with before, and they know that, you know, when the push comes to shove, like they can count on those people, you know?
Totally. Especially as a leader, it's like, I need people that I don't need to, if I can say one thing to the artist and I can just like leave them alone, and I know when the deadline comes, or whenever I check in, they're gonna deliver. Like as a leader, it makes my life so much easier, and it gives me so much confidence versus someone that you have to like hold their hand and be like, wait, I'm not sure what I'm gonna get, or do they remember what I told them? Like, you don't need that.
Yeah, you don't want to deal with that. It's just like once you get in the position where you're sort of like either directing or having responsibility over others, like you have your own responsibilities that take plenty of your time. So that alone becomes, you know, quite stressful and a lot of work. And then you know, the best leaders that I know are the ones that, you know, trust whoever they work with and give them responsibilities. But in order to do that, like you don't want to have people that are going to be a disappointment.
Totally. Yeah. It's very necessary, and I don't know. It's not something that I don't know how you really teach that in art schools, but you know, it's all part of being a team. It's being professionals, being a team member, and obviously it's someone who's just like works hard and also who's talented as well. It's not just talent, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's just not just quality of work. That's the main point.
Yeah, because part of the thing that's so much fun is the collaboration. You know, like if they check, like an artist will check in and show me their stuff, and then the conversation that we have based on that, if, you know, and if one artist might react like they're expecting you to just be like, you're amazing. Like, no, you shouldn't have that attitude. But the artists that I love is they come up with something, whether it's amazing or not, or, you know, it should be a conversation and be like, that's awesome. You know, hey, what about this idea? And then for them to not have the ego, but also to be like, oh, that's awesome. Okay, let's try that. And what about this idea? And it's gonna be a conversation.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be about like me or what I tell you to do. I want your voice. I want your ideas, and I want you to be okay with this relationship and trust, you know, both ways. That stuff that's so much fun, you know, and that's when you get the best stuff coming out, you know, things that you didn't think about, things I didn't think about, you know.
Right. Yeah. It's the most difficult relationship to have a relationship with the artist who's your friend, and then keep it professional, meaning like you can get egos out of the way, do the work, and then once it's over, it's like almost never existed.
Yeah. And I've been fortunate because, you know, like, obviously I think because I get to hire the artists, and then Ryan obviously hires the artists through the years, so we're able to, you know, bring in people that we know are skilled, but also that will fit well with the team, that is team player, that's, you know, they're not going to be divas or anything like that, you know.
How was the transition for you when you went from basically illustrating at Marvel to like taking over the leading role?
That was exciting. because I guess pretty much for me it was a nice transition, because basically on Captain America: Civil War, which I think is your first Marvel film, right? Mm-hmm. I was promoted to like lead character artist in our visual development department. So at that point, because before that, I never, you know, like most artists don't get to go to the meetings, you know, with the producers and the directors and Kevin Feige, where they're looking at all of our artwork and either laughing at it or making fun of it or saying, ooh, that's awesome,
right?
You know, and yeah, we don't get to go to those. And then Ryan would come back, or Charlie, and then give us, you know, the lowdown. On Captain America Civil War, I got to go to those meetings and essentially kind of just watch Ryan, and then I started, besides going to the meetings, I started going, you know, I just, there's certain characters I designed, like Ant-Man or Hawkeye or Scarlet Witch, I would go to the costume fittings. So I started working with a costume designer. I'd go to the specialty costumers like Legacy FX or Ironhead, and I started like basically shadowing Ryan and seeing how he deals with those vendors, how he gives notes. And so that was an invaluable learning experience. So after doing that, and then after that, I got thrown into Guardians of the Galaxy. That was my first film I led, Volume 2, sorry.
Right.
And so Ryan just kind of threw me, and then I started going to those meetings. You know, I've been doing it for 5 years, and those meetings to this day are still always so intimidating. Because it's a room with at least 20 people, in this long, intimidating table with like TV screens in the front, and you see like all the heads of every department, from the art department, costumes, VFX, all the producers and their assistants, and then, you know, the trio and Kevin Feige, Lou D'Esposito, and Victoria Alonso. And they just, you know, you click on, you know, so I gather up all the artist artwork. You know, we might have like 60 images, and I start clicking through them, and they just look at it, and a lot of times there's just silence. You know, you're clicking through things, and there's silence, and you're just like, oh my God, this is so nerve-wracking. Because it's more rare to get like a, ooh, that's awesome. You know, it's very rare to kind of get that.
Yeah, I've seen so much stuff that is like rare.
Yeah, and also it's not just about like, oh, that's a pretty picture. They're not thinking of that.
Yeah, they don't care.
They need, that's not our job, right? I mean, our job is to serve the story, you know, for what they want. So we're trying to figure out that visual language for the director and for the producers. And a lot of times we're guessing, right? Or through conversations, we have some idea, but I would say most of the time, they don't really exactly know, you know, they have some inkling, but they need us to help them to figure it out. So it's very easy for them to know when something's not speaking to them, but it's not always clear to them when something is like right. It's always easier to say, oh no, it's not there yet, it's not there. But to answer your question, what was that transition like? So it was very intimidating and nerve-wracking, but it was very fun too, because I found out that I really enjoy working with artists, you know, because at that point I got to, you know, for Guardians, who did I hire on? I think Jared was already with us, but Jared kind of came over. I brought on Kevin Chen. See, it's kind of like what we're talking about, like people you know and people who treated you well. And so I brought on Kevin Chen. Oh man, I'm having a hard time remembering who else I brought on. I'm sorry if you're watching or listening.
No, it's.
But
you know, I'm saying this thing. I've been saying this. Once you reach a threshold of knowing more than X amount of artist's name, like it just becomes a blur.
Yeah. Hold on, let me just think for a second. Well, okay, so I can't name every single person, but bringing on the artists and starting to like art direct and seeing, you know, what they produce and being able to give notes, and then taking their artwork. So after doing like a week or 2 weeks of artwork on certain characters like Ego or, you know, whatever the character is, and taking that, you know, going into the meeting, and I remember feeling this pride of like, look, I know I have all this awesome artwork that, you know, my artists have done. We all worked hard for the past 2 weeks, and I can't wait to see their reaction. And I still have that feeling, you know, a lot of times when I go to a meeting, I'm like, I'm excited, even though I'm nervous, I'm excited because I'm like, I can't wait for them to see these pieces of artwork that's like, that I think is like amazing, right? But then of course, you know, so many times you go into a meeting, you show it, and then it doesn't get the reaction you expect, and you're just like, oh, come on. But
We're bombing here.
yeah. But you know, I think it was a learning experience. And then working with the costume designer, you know, that was, you know, a new experience. And working with VFX, the art department, we worked with Scott Chambliss. Did I say that right? Yeah, Scott Chambliss, right? Yeah, especially when it came to the Ego's planet. So you know,
I never worked with him, but yeah, I've heard about him before.
Yeah, and then, you know, on certain films I would go on location as well. Most of the times we get to stay here. We don't have to go to the productions, you know, when they go to Australia or Atlanta or wherever. But a couple of times I've had to go, you know, to Atlanta for Ant-Man and Wasp. And then I work with the costumes. A lot of our job is working with the costumes department.
Yeah, that makes sense, because you guys are basically, you guys are responsible for all the costumes, basically all the designs of characters.
Well, not all, you know.
Come on.
No, because I mean, obviously, you know, we don't design everything, because the costume department, they have their artists as well. So, you know, a lot of times we will design like the main heroes, that kind of thing. But obviously, there's tons more to design.
Yeah, sure. No, you're right.
And then, yeah, so of course, the designs that we do design, then I work with, you know, the costume designer, you know, to try to help out whatever they need, you know, the close-up turnarounds, details. We do the 3D models, and then I'll go to the costume fittings, you know, with the actor. That's another part of this job that, you know, I find very enjoyable, is, you know, seeing that process after normally as a concept art, you just do concept art, it goes into the ether and you have no idea until you watch the film. And you're like, oh, what did they do? They butchered my design, right? But, you know, it's fun because, you know, in my job, I get to see it through and work with a costume designer, or if it's a VFX character like Hela, then I'll, you know, work with Jake Morrison, the VFX supervisor. And then even in post, sometimes when they're doing the VFX, you know, they still need some additional, it's just not looking good, so they'll come to us, and then we get to kind of help course correct So it's a unique department and position that we get to be in. So yeah, it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, you guys have a very unique position in film industry, I would say. Almost, it doesn't exist anywhere else.
It doesn't. It's yeah. It is strange. I mean, there's no such thing as a visual development department, you know.
Yeah.
And even my title as a director of visual development, that's a strange title.
It's something you would see, I guess. I mean, it's the equivalent of art department in animation.
It's closer. Yes, closer.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, but not in film. So it's always been kind of not weird, but like interesting. Where
it's a little weird.
It's a little weird. That's true. Because like you have basically VizDev, and then you have art department, and those are kind of like the strangest part about it is like they are working separately.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, that's right. Every department is just separate and they do their own thing. I mean, there are obviously collaborations a little bit.
Yeah,
but usually
a little bit. Yeah.
But this is the one studio where they have our department that kind of intersects with all the other departments. Definitely, mainly with the costume department. But the whole reason why this department happened was because of Iron Man. When Adi Granov, Bill Saunders, Ryan Meinerding, and they literally would they sleep there, but they were at Legacy Effects. I think at that time it might have been Stan Winston. But they were there hand in hand working with them to get that Iron Man the suits of the Iron Man right. Normally it would just be them working alone, just looking at the old concept art that somebody had did, but you actually had the artists that did those concept art to continually refine and figure out every nitty gritty. And I think the end result was something even better, because they got to collaborate with those artists. And I think Marvel saw that and they're like, oh my gosh, that's not normal, but they saw the value in that being able, and then that translated to Captain America, the very first Captain America. And Ryan worked closely with the costume designer, and then on Thor, Charlie worked very closely with Alexander Byrne. So Marvel really recognized wow, the product that ends up, it's something that's heightened, because you have this collaboration between departments rather than just, all separated. But yeah, I think that's the reason why it happened.
I think, absolutely. And my biggest props to Kevin Feige is the fact that he recognized that early on.
Totally.
And made it happen. And the end result is like, everyone kind of always compares or tries to compare like DC Universe and Marvel and how both are doing, like how the MCU is doing compared to what DC is trying to do with the films. And one of the things that always stands out is pretty much every single Marvel film has a consistency that is just there all across.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been done through one powerhouse,
Yeah.
It's not like, because when you watch most of the movies, even if they're in the same universe, like look at Batman. It could be same argument to Spider-Man and Hulk, that they've been rebooted and redone.
Yeah.
But even within the same universe and within the same time frame, all of the movies kind of look and feel completely different. Whereas with Marvel movies, they have the continuity, even though they are completely different. Like you look at Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's such a complete, almost like a 180 degree turn.
Yeah.
But it still has it. If you watch that and then you watch the Avengers, you would know those are both Marvel movies.
Yes.
Even if you didn't know the title.
Yes.
Or even if you were not familiar with the franchise.
Yeah.
You would still like connect one and the other.
Totally.
Because just the way they feel, it feels like it's done in the same realm.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest benefit of what you guys are doing, in my eyes. Having that giant amount of influence on how the films look and feel, and then the kind of guys that work in that VizDev that you guys have is just God. It's just like some of the most amazing, like not only just great people, because like I know a bunch of you and you're like just awesome to hang out with. But it's just like, yeah, like Ryan, yourself, and Rodney, and it's just all the other guys.
Oh no, totally.
Wesley and Phil.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I feel spoiled because every day I get to go to work. Well, not lately, but and I get to see like all the artists from the in-house Jackson Z and Wes and John Staub and Tully Ian. I mean, Phil Saunders, Justin Sweet. Like, wow. That's one of the side things. Like, I mentioned Justin Sweet right back early in our podcast, but I got to hire him on he's one of the ones I hired on Guardians too.
Gotcha.
And then I hired him more recently on which one was it for? I work on so many films at the same time. I never work on just one film at a time. So I literally have been working this past year in 3. It's always 3 at the same time.
Damn,
it's ridiculous. but what you're saying is completely true because, and I think, part of me, I'm working as a professional artist, but I'm still like a fan. Like I grew up reading comic books, Marvel comic books, and what Kevin Feige, it's all Kevin Feige. He's the reason why this has happened. What he has created is essentially comic books in reality, because in comic books, what I used to love about reading comic books, I'd read Iron Man, and then if I want to read more Iron Man, he's also in Avengers, and then but then in that Avengers comic book story, they're mentioning things that happened in that individual Iron Man issue. You know, so you're like, oh my god, this is awesome. It's all connected. And then you have a Spider-Man comic book who has a totally different feel than Iron Man. And then occasionally you might have a guest appearance from Iron Man in a Spider-Man issue, and you're just like, this is amazing. Like all these books are totally different, and every book feels different. Some are more serious. X-Men was always more serious and gritty, but then you have the more lighter, like Spider-Man books. But sometimes they cross over, and they exactly replicated that in the film world, which I would never have thought that you could actually do. But that's why last year in watching Endgame, Infinity War and then Endgame, I was just like, I just turned back into that 14-year-old boy, because I'm just like, how am I watching this? How did they make a Guardians and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man and Captain Marvel and Avengers and Iron Man, all these characters, they all come onto screen, and you're just like, this works somehow. And I think what they created in the film industry is unprecedented, right? There's never been something where this connected this many different franchises into one, and for 10 years straight, Yeah. It all comes down to Kevin Feige, because at the end of the day, he understands comic books and what made comic books iconic and beloved by so many fans. But more than that, he understands film. He was always a film buff, and he was also part of those early films like Spider-Man and X-Men, Fantastic Four, I think, as well. So he understands film. So the success of these films is completely him, because he knows when something's not going right. And I can attest so many meetings I've been to, and when he says something about an art piece or whatever, I don't voice it out, but in my head I'm like, it's always just reaffirming, man, this guy gets it, And how many companies has someone like that? Not many companies have that.
Not many, if any.
Yeah, I think I always compare him to Steve Jobs a little,
Right.
It might be totally different, but it's similar, because you have someone who's just this visionary who gets it, and then as long as you follow this leader, you're going to come up with successful things. And what he came up, Steve Jobs changed the world, because he had ideas that were just like, what? No one thought of that. But then Kevin has a similar where he gets it. So his ideas that he has, like for him to do Guardians of the Galaxy, that was a very risky move, because it's such a weird, offbeat kind of movie, especially after the success of Avengers. Any other company would have done, okay, now we got to just milk this Avengers thing and keep on doing Iron Mans, because they don't want to risk it. But he saw a bigger picture.
yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy isn't really like the most known in the Marvel universe. It's like one of the most obscure.
No one knew it. Yeah.
Parts of the Marvel universe. Like only like absolute hardcore fans.
Yeah.
Like truly know what that is. Yeah, when I heard like Guardians of the Galaxy, what is that? And I did work on the first one through VFX.
I know, but when you first heard of it, and then you heard that there's a tree and a talking raccoon, you're like, what the heck? Like everyone reacted the same way. It's just like Ant-Man. First time, when I was working on Ant-Man, whenever I talked to any of my friends and I told them what I'm working on, they always laughed. Understandably.
When I heard Ant-Man, was like, what? What are you guys doing?
Exactly.
You have so many characters you could work on.
Exactly. But that's Kevin right there. Like knowing that how risky that is and how ridiculous that kind of character is. But look, a lot of people's favorite films are those films. So it's like, especially with kids, like a lot of kids love Ant-Man, and everyone loves like Guardians of the Galaxy and everything. So that's Kevin right there.
Yeah, it was a bold move to hire James Gunn to do Guardians, because like I remember the first time I saw James's work was the PG porn. That was the first thing I ever saw from him. That was like when
Slither.
Okay.
Slither, and then that other comic book one, I forgot what it's called. That very dark comic book, Rainn Wilson one.
Right. But the reason I remember PG porn is because it came out right when YouTube started.
Oh.
Remember? And so like back in the old YouTube days where it was just all like cat videos and funny shit, Yeah. Like there were always like a little nugget here and there that just came out, like this kind of weird produced videos that were like, what is this? But it was like right on the nose, like just like balancing on the edge of what was edgy back then.
Yep.
And just funny and like and courageous in a way, because no one was thinking about doing that. I mean, I'm pretty sure there was like some nerds that out there were thinking about more nefarious things to do, but never on the level of like actually producing and making it to be really good,
Yeah.
So and then like he did Scooby-Doo, and I was like, what? But then like you watch the movie, it all makes sense.
Totally. I mean, look, he hired the Russo brothers. Like, they did Community. They were doing TV comedies, So who the heck are these Russo brothers? And look, they did like my favorite films. And then hiring Taika Waititi, It's like, What We Do in Shadows.
What We Do in Shadows guy.
Yeah, and he totally whether you like Ragnarok or not, that's a lot of people's favorites, but it totally reinvigorated that character.
He made Thor one of the best franchise.
Right?
Of Marvel, I feel. Yeah.
It was one of the lower, not so beloved characters.
Yeah.
And they didn't, because you could tell like people didn't really know what to do with him, and then now he's like beloved.
Yeah.
And then he it's pretty. But that's also the genius of Kevin too, because they know how to make those kind of decisions, from directors to casting. We could have this conversation about all the actors that they chose for each of these characters. They weren't always the obvious choice, Chris Pratt, even Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans, the guy who played, Fire, what's his name? Human Torch, the guy who's always sarcastic, So a lot of these choices aren't the obvious choice, but in hindsight, you're like, can you imagine another Captain America? It's like,
no.
Dude, he's become Captain America like in real life.
he did Dr. Dolittle, and that was a complete disaster.
That's waiting. Robert Downey Jr. Yeah.
Now everyone was waiting for him to go back and do Iron Man again.
Yeah, he is. They've all kind of become their characters, Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., Star-Lord, and then Scarlett Johansson. Yeah.
One thing that I have to admit, and no one can take away, I think you're comparing it to what Steve Jobs did to tech industry. I think it's a legit way of saying it, because like one thing that Marvel movies do, and whether you like them or not, a lot of people love the movies. Some people are like,
not everyone loves it. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Completely aware of that.
But you cannot deny that Marvel movies are one of those that consistently connect like the nerd culture with mainstream culture. And it's very difficult to do something that's I feel like connecting to mainstream culture to your average Joe person who's not, because we're like me and you, everyone who's working on that stuff, we're such a nerds. Like we go into like those details, like like look at this costume design and like just chiseling every detail, and like, you know, a nerd, look at the material or a sunset. It's just like completely freaking out about artistic stuff. But average person, like I say normal because they are normal in a way that they're kind of like more normal, that we're kind of freaks when it comes to that. Yep. They just don't care about that stuff. That's just the normal stuff that happens during the day that I don't pay attention to because it doesn't matter to me. Yeah. And grabbing an attention of like a person that just has no connection to like, I want to be an artist and stuff like that, and a continuous basis to keep them engaged and invested into characters, that happens rarely. I don't think there's any other big franchise that has that. Arguably there's some TV shows that do it well.
Yeah, TV shows definitely. But no, I think you're right. Like you know, I do Comic Cons. You know, I started doing like having a booth or a table, artist alley, that kind of things in recent years. And the number of people that I encounter, and they're not artists, most of them, but they're just fans of these films, and more than the films, they're fans of these characters, right? Yeah. And it's not just, it's cool, it's, you know, pew pew pew, but it actually like means something to them. Like it's I've heard so many stories of like, it's very weird to think about this because it's been 10 years. They're like, I grew up on these films, and you know, as a teenager, like this is how me and my parents connected. And when you hear things like that, you're just like, they say to this day, this is every Marvel movie we still go together. Yeah, so it's like cool. when you hear that, you're just like, even though I know we're not saving the world, we're not saving lives, but at the same time, it does mean something to a lot of people. Whether even if it's a distraction, you know, it connects friends, it connects communities, families, even, you know. So it's like it's really kind of cool. And obviously, growing up, you know, it connects me with my friends because when we get together, we nerd out and talk about like, you know, my friend is like, I feel like Black Panther ruined the MCU, and I'm like, what? Not because of. Well, the reason is because of the technology, and he felt like it was like over the top.
I've heard the other part of there's.
I don't want to.
When you dig into the internet, you will read the other part too.
That part is just I will not acknowledge. That's
the 4chan side of things.
Yeah, but yeah, you could have those kind of conversations, and you know, it makes it adds spice to our lives.
Yeah, as you said, we're basically doing kind of bullshit work in a way.
Yeah.
It's totally. Like it's just entertainment. Like, let's not take ourselves too seriously. Totally. We all know people that take this stuff way too serious. Like way too serious.
Yeah, go on any Hollywood, like of the message boards and you'll see it. Actually, on my like Instagram account, like when I post things and some of the comments. It gets heated.
Read comments.
I know exactly. I don't engage, but some people are just like, wow, okay, people are angry.
Yeah, people just want to try to find something to be angry about. Like, you know, I guess this is one of the positive things about this whole pandemic situation is that it kind of like made a lot of people that complain about absolute bullshit to just shut up. Because now all of a sudden there are more important things to care about. You know, we had it so easy most of the time. I get it. There are people that don't have their lives together, and you know, there is poverty everywhere. But like consider all things considered, compared to what it was 20, 30, 40 years ago, like we have it pretty good, you know, overall. Totally. So this situation kind of stops all the like meaningless, weird, you know, noise and people complaining and coming up with shit to complain, basically, you know.
No, I feel like because of this environment that we're in right now with the COVID-19, like a lot of people are looking for distraction, looking for entertainment.
Right.
So they're appreciating. I'll get those kind of comments like, "Oh, I really appreciate the posts you've been doing," to see. And I've been posting some like process stuff that I've done behind the scenes, and people are really appreciating that. So I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cool to like provide that and help out however you can, even though we're not saving lives, but. I think for me, growing up, especially, that's why I always love like kind of giving advice or teaching a younger generation, because I remember being on that side and how much it would mean for me to be able to interact with the people that I admired, and being to see behind the scenes into their world. So it's like that's the positive stuff of social media.
Yeah. I mean, you always have to take the positive too. Like when you say you have people coming over and say like, you know what, I've been watching the films when I was a kid with my dad or with my parents, and this is like the connection point. Like this is the kind of stuff that kind of validates the work you do. It's like, okay, I know I'm doing. Let's be honest, I'm not doing like anything important. This is all for fun. Yeah. And it just so happens I can make money doing that,
Totally. We're playing. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I mean, it is work. And like, as you said, it's so competitive. You have to be like on your toes, and it can get you exhausted real quick. But at the end of the day, we're not like doctors and nurses and whatnot, So let's be real. But hearing the stories where whatever you do, even if however meaningful or meaningless it is, like you're affecting someone else's life's outcome.
I turned on Backface Mask.
Positivity, that matters a lot.
Tell me it's
totally.
Yeah.
And anything we can do to bring cheer and smiles and excitement and that's what we do. We're entertaining, and it is really fun to see like the reaction, especially we live in a time with the YouTube and seeing reaction videos. So whenever there's like a Marvel like trailer or if people have reactions to it, especially that past year with like Infinity War and Endgame, and I don't know if you've ever seen those videos of people in the theater, the moment when Captain America grabbed the hammer, and people are like crying and cheering and screaming. One of the another perks of my job is I get to go to the premieres. You hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll never forget like the Black Panther premiere. That one, I mean, every premiere is full of excitement and energy, and it's just really exciting. But that one in particular, the crowd was, man, they were electric, and they were going crazy about everything, every joke, every moment. And when a Shuri says, "What are those?" like the crowd reaction. And then that after party was just nuts, because there was just like every single celebrity there. They're just like, it was just really fun. But seeing the reactions to these films and what Black Panther meant, especially to the African community, it's special. Even though it is just entertainment, that meant something to that especially that community. And then Captain Marvel last year. Whenever I do a show, like how many people, not just females, but of course, especially females, but male and female, come up to me and say how much that movie meant to them, to have a movie like that, and then DC doing Wonder Woman, like those are important films, because we don't see those kind of films very often, So of course, there's a lot of people on the other side that don't really like those kind of films.
Yeah, but like the way I always look at it, it's like, since when everything has to be for everyone? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's people trying to find problems where there aren't any problems, and the reality is, look, if you want to make a movie about female character, right? Or you want to make a movie that resonates with African American community, just make the movie. Who cares? You know what's the worst gonna happen? If your premise that's what you're supposed to do because there's a large audience that is underrepresented. If that's the premise, if that's true, then it's not gonna make any money. Right? Those movies are making money. So like, pick your poison. You know what I mean? So I just the way I look at it, in general, like I don't like when people try to attach politics from either side, whether it's
I agree.
Whether it's the audience or the filmmakers. I feel like a lot of it is really just trying to look nice in social media. A lot of the times it's just very genuine. The way I look at it is just like, not everything has to be for everyone. Just do whatever you want, man. Like if you want to make a movie like that, make a movie like that. People who really want to watch it will go and watch it, you know?
Yeah.
It's like we have anime as a genre, right? A lot of people think anime is stupid.
Yep.
But you don't have, like, who says you have to convince everyone that's the thing you have to watch, or you shouldn't do that, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's very weird. Like, I don't like this sort of like the division, like people sort of like arguing about meaningless stuff like that. None of that really matters. Like,
it's so tiring, and I don't get involved in that. I'm just enjoying, you know, the type of movies we're making. It's, you know, it might not be for everyone, every single film, but you know, for the past year I've been working on Shang-Chi, right? And that might be controversial for some people as well, but hey, I'm Asian. You know,
everything is controversial for someone.
I grew up in America. I grew up, I was born in New York and raised in Orange County, California. And I grew up in a world where everything, I was drawing superheroes, I was drawing whatever, cartoons all my life, and I was watching cartoons. Every single drawing I ever did was of a Caucasian male, usually, then Caucasian female. You know, I almost never drew an Asian superhero. Why? Because I was essentially bred to see. It actually looked a little weird to me if I saw like the idea of an Asian superhero. Like, it didn't, like, wait, that doesn't look right. You know, because that's all I ever saw. You know, until way later in life that I saw someone like Bruce Lee, where I'm like, whoa, you know. But even though seeing Bruce Lee was awesome, at the same time, he was, you know, mainly making Chinese films. Yeah. You know, it's not really, except for Enter the Dragon, but it's not like he was doing tons of like American films, and then later on, you know, you get Jackie Chan, things like that. But yeah, so, you know, working on Shang-Chi, I think like it's special because it's like, I know my son who's 7 years old, and you know, my daughter, her favorite character right now is Captain Marvel. Like, she's growing up in a world where she got to see that's normal. It's not like a special, like, oh, it's a female superhero. It's like, it's just kids normal for her. Yeah, she's watching She-Ra, and then next, or a couple of years they're gonna watch Shang-Chi, and he's part of the MCU. It's like, I think that is awesome. And it might not be for everyone, but that's fine. Guardians of the Galaxy is not for everyone, you know? Yeah. Like, some people don't like Hulk, or they don't like whatever character, Ant-Man. That's fine, you know? You don't have to like all of them, but why like hate on some of them?
Yeah, when you mention kids, you know, one of the things kids do is they don't care.
Yeah,
they just don't care.
They don't. My kids never talk about that. Like,
all that matters if it's cool
politics
or not.
Yeah, seriously.
It's cool.
Seriously,
if it's not, it's not.
They love every single MCU character. There are probably some they like, but I've never heard any of them say they don't like or hate somebody.
Yeah.
Even the villains, they don't hate them.
You know, past few podcasts I had conversations with, you know, I was talking with people and a bunch of other
stuff
people.
On D-Live.
And one of the themes that I had was like, you know,
thanks for the follow, Benjamin.
You grew up working in this industry, meaning like you know how it was for most of the time, like, you know, traditional drawing, then it went to digital drawing. And then, you know, there was always a push, like, you know, you should learn 3D, or, you know, Photoshop is the way. And then, like, it's always like progressing into like more technical, more advanced, more technical, more advanced. But what's been happening recently is like all of a sudden, like, markets open, and you start to see, because of social media, you start to see that art is in so many places that, you know, you might have not been exposed to, and it's becoming mainstream for that reason. And what's fascinating about that is obviously the one of the things that's concerning, might be concerning to some artists, is that now art is everywhere. It's kind of becoming a commodity in a way, because it's just flooded the market. So you can see so many artists. It's very difficult to follow who's who.
Yeah.
But what it also does is it shows you that you can create ideas and certain things that you would never think about you could.
Mm-hmm.
And because every single one of us are so different, like so different, you know, and the culture, how you grew up with, all of that, you know, applies to who you are as a person, to the people you surround yourself with, and the kind of influences you had in your life. And if you know, I guess for most of the time, one of the reasons why we have the films we have, and why we have the characters we have, why the comic books looked out this way and not the other way, is because that industry was there and there was a different time. You know, I think it goes without saying that life in the 50s was not great. So, but we've come a long way, and you know, just putting any focus on, I feel like putting any focus on that, whether it's people crying out,
I'm taking a break from
justice, or people who are, you know, arguing like, oh, just, you know, completely the opposite way. Like to me it's just a waste of time and breath, because it doesn't accomplish anything. People arguing usually accomplish nothing. It just makes people hate one another, and that never leads to anything good, honestly.
Yeah.
Don't crash.
The concerning part about this is, like, you know, I don't pay attention to politics. This is the first time I actually pay attention to politics because of the COVID-19. And it's so, like, I try to avoid that as fire. That's one of the reasons why I do not like Twitter, because it's just a dumpster fire of like weird comments and like all this kind of craziness and hashtags. But like one of the things I've noticed is that, like, why people are wasting time on this and trying to shut down one another instead of just like literally, start making stuff, you know? Like, if you don't like something, just start making something instead. See if people like that instead. I don't know. I don't delve much into it. It's just like it's frustrating, to say the least, and it's just a giant waste of time, in my opinion.
Well, for me, I totally hear you, because there's so much of that, and that's why a lot of people do avoid Twitter, and there's plenty of that on Instagram. And those are the two main that I do: Twitter and Instagram. Right. And you know, I'm.
What the fuck is this?
I've learned how to.
What's all this?
Or it's continual. You can still hear me, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because your video went out. But you know, it's basically kind of like, it's not so much like ignore. I kind of ignore, but it's kind of choosing where you want to spend your time and your energy. Yeah. And for me, like if you follow me on any of my social media, like I don't post personal stuff. I don't post. You never see photos of my family really, or you know, my kids, because I'm mainly choosing to use those platforms as Andy as an artist. You know? So, and that's the part where I want to, you know, of course it's promoting myself, but it's also, you know, giving, whether it's entertainment or however you want to see it, to people who enjoy seeing my artwork, right? So that's the stuff, and what stuff that I'll share. If I get a toy, you know, based off of the design I did, and I can like celebrate, like, oh, I'm so excited to get this toy based on my design, and I want to share it with you guys, and they can enjoy that, right? So that's where I want to spend my energy when it comes to those social media platforms. Twitter, you know, of course I'm privy and I'm aware of like the politics and the opposing sides and people arguing and stuff like that, and I read it on my comments and stuff like that, and there's that temptation to want to like fight back. But it's not worth it, because what is it going to accomplish? Like, you're never gonna change somebody on social media, you know? It's really pointless. Like, if you want to have a conversation, see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Respectful conversation in person, you know, I have those conversations with my friend. I have those with my coworkers.